Good morning, guys. How's it going? So it's about, I just stepped into the sun. It's about 8 in the morning, and as you saw by the title, this is going to be part 4 of the washer dryer move. So I wasn't sure if I was going to make another video for this, but I figured, what the heck, might as well. So basically this video, I'm going to be making the cabinet style enclosure. So basically building a wall and then a door, and then just framing all that out, just so the washer and dryer is kind of enclosed. It looks a little nicer, and then we'll, it's going to get painted to kind of match the walls with the white trim. So that's it. That's going to be this episode today, part 4, washer and dryer move. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. So this is basically the wood that I got for this project, and this is Douglas fir, so it's a little bit better than pine. And then this is going to be the center part. I know this might be kind of hard to envision right now, but basically what's going to happen is it's going to be kind of a shaker style, so it'll sort of match our kitchen cabinet. So this is basically going to be the outside frame of the wall and the door, and then I will cut a slot in these on the ends, and then these pieces will slide in there, so it'll all be one big piece, which you'll see as the video goes along. And then I got some 3/4 inch plywood, which will be the top, and then that'll get trimmed out too, so you're not really actually going to see that. All right, so this is where the washer and dryer stands right now. I did get the back wall finished out, and it's painted, and this is just a piece of trim that's sitting in here. This is actually the floor trim that'll go back down there once the wall is built. So basically what's going to happen is I put a painted 2x3 in here that's mounted to the wall. This is where one wall is going to mount to, and I'm actually going to put hinges on here. So the way it's going to work is this wall that will be here will actually open up as well. And then I'm going to have some little clips at the bottom that goes into the floor and then to the top. So that'll secure that wall, and it'll be pretty solid. And then I'm going to do the same 2x3 will get mounted here. And then that's what this door hinge will get mounted to. And then this door will open up this way. So I finally got a chance to kind of get my storage container organized a bit more. And I have quite a bit of room in here now. As you can see, everything was kind of just piled in here before. But I do want to get this stuff out of here because this storage container doesn't really have any ventilation. So everything in here is just kind of like you can see on this sign, like how there's mold on it. And even on my toolbox, if you look on my toolbox, you see there's mold growing on my toolbox. Some of the tools, you look at some of my hammer handles, like it's getting mold on it. It's because there's no ventilation in this thing at all. So when it's a sunny day, I try to open up the door, to let some heat in, let some sun in, to kind of dry it out. But now that I organized, I have access to my table saw, which I'm going to need today. And then of course the chop saw, so. All right, so basically what you saw me do there was I cut my 4 vertical pieces, which is going to be the ends of the 2 door panels, or wall panel and door panel. And then I cut 3 cross pieces. So this is going to be for the first section, which is going to basically go on the side of the washer and dryer. And this is the longer section. So this is about 79¼ inches tall. I'm going to be leaving a 1/4 inch gap on the floor because down the road we may add put in some new flooring because I don't really like our flooring. And then that should even up to where the 80-inch top piece will go. So it should line up right. And then basically what's going to happen is these will get joined together like that in the middle, top and bottom. And then those thin pieces, which are here, will go in the center as the panel. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to take this on edge and I have this 1/4 inch. I was going to use my table saw, but I forgot that I had a 1/4 inch router bit. So basically what's going to happen is I'm going to take this 1/4 inch router bit and I'm going to cut a groove in here, which this is, I guess you can see a little better there. So this will cut a 1/4 inch groove in here that's going to be about a 1/2 inch deep, and then that'll give a channel for the plywood, the thin plywood, to slide into. And it's going to basically go, you know, 1/2 inch into here, 1/2 inch into here, 1/2 inch into there, and then that'll kind of lock everything together. And then these end pieces will end up getting dowels. So I'll drill holes and put dowels in here, and then all this will get glued together in one shot. All right, so I'm not sure that this is going to be the best method. I'm getting a lot of blowout here, which you see all this really rough cuts right here. This was the best channel, but you see that it's not, you know, perfectly straight. So I'm going to try and do it on the circular saw and see if I can get better results. But some, like this one, was terrible. So, okay, so I got the table saw set up. This, as you can see, makes a lot nicer, straighter, cleaner cut. One of the complications with this, though, is because the blade is only an 1/8 inch. I have to basically run it through, cut one side, then I have to flip it and run it through and cut the other side. And then that gives me my 1/4 inch gap that I need, or just under 1/4. So I think this will work. I guess we'll see. Okay, so one thing that I need to keep in mind when I'm cutting the grooves in these is that I have to not cut a groove on this center section and then on the ends, because I'm going to need to be able to put a couple dowels in here so that when this joins up, I have a spot to put the dowels into this side. So if I cut a groove in there, it's not really going to fit right. I mean, I could probably push the dowel into it, but I don't really, I'd rather have a solid piece there. So when I do the glue up, it'll be, you know, more sturdy, firm, just better overall. So I put these markings on, and they're on both sides. So that way when I'm running it in both directions on the saw, I can see kind of where to start and stop. And I have to go basically a 1/2 inch or so past this line, or all of these lines. And that's only on the vertical pieces. On the horizontal pieces, I don't have to worry about that because it's already going to have the edge that's going to be flat for the dowels to go into. All right, so the saw blade didn't quite do, I guess, like I wanted. So what I ended up doing was I put that 1/4 inch straight bit into my little handheld router, and then I went and I just cleaned up these channels a little bit. It's not great looking, but most of this you will not see anyway, so it should be okay. Okay, so this is what I'm going to use to put my outside pieces together. This is basically just a little dowel kit that you can buy at Home Depot. It comes with the dowels, and then you have these little pins in here. So what you do is you drill your hole on your one side, you slide this into the hole, and then you use that to mark the holes on the other side. So you put this little stop on the drill bit here, and you want it to be basically about half the length of the dowel, maybe slightly over, because you're going to have glue in there. All right, so that's my 2 holes drilled, and the little pins are in there. So basically what you do is you just line this up on there. You either tap it with a hammer or just squeeze it. It'll leave marks on the other side, and then that's where you drill your hole for the dowel. This is going to be kind of tricky because these sides are not as flat as I wanted them to be, so we'll have to make do. All right, so this one is pretty close. It's not quite as level as I wanted. It's a little bit low. So this is just stuck together with the dowels right now. There's no glue. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this up and glue this piece first. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to clamp a board on either side of this so that this is in there more level. And then I will put a strap basically around that end and this end, and then let everything glue and dry. On this, I'm going to be using Type Bond 3, which is preferred glue by pretty much every woodworker that I follow. So that's what I'm going to be putting this together with. All right, so it's been about 45 minutes since I did the glue up. I'm not 100% sure that this is going to work. I know straps are not the best way to do this. I don't have clamps big enough. And plus, you know, doing the dowel method that I'm doing, it's not the straightest, most accurate way to do it. So I'm just hoping that it works out. All right, so you can see my panel is together. I don't know that these joints are the strongest glue job, but when I actually put this all together, I'm going to be putting glue in all of these joints as well when I put this piece up here, so then everything will be glued. I just wanted to kind of glue these ahead of time so that they were a little bit more solid for when I glue up the entire thing. All right, so there's with the other piece on. I'm basically just holding it in place right now. I still got to drill the holes and the dowels, you know, for these connections here along this whole side. All right, so I have this all prepped, and I'm at the point now where I'm going to glue up everything. So basically, I'm going to prep my straps, get them ready. I got to put glue in all of these seams, put glue on these seams here, put glue on these dowels. So it's just going to be a lot of glue. And then I'm going to throw the 3 straps on there, and then it's going to sit and dry like that. All right, so that is my first panel glued up. I will go and most likely be running a bead of silicone along all of these edges after the glue dries, and I'll do that on both sides prior to painting it. But now it's just a matter of letting the glue dry, and then I'll go and see how this fits and looks. It's been, I don't know, hour and a half or so. This panel is pretty much dried, set up. This is actually going to be the inside here. So there will be some, I'll do some sanding and stuff to clean this up. And then I'm going to do a bead of paintable caulking or silicone on the inside of here as well as on the outside. What I'm getting ready to do right now is going to be installing the hinges. So I did a test drill here, and basically these are just standard cabinet hinges. You use a Forstner bit to drill the hole, and it fits in there like that. You screw it down. Basically it looks like that. So this is the Forstner bit, and it's a 1 3/8 inch, I believe it was, for this one. I think that's kind of the standard, which I think also is 35 millimeter if you're looking at metric. So I'm going to get that laid out, and this is going to have 4 hinges on it. So all these holes are drilled for the hinges, and you got to be careful. The Forstner bit, you can control it pretty good. You just got to watch your pressure because this is so thin. You don't want to, you know, go through on there, which I didn't. You want to go just to the right level so that this is flush. So when you put the screws in, it's nice and snug in there. And you can see the alignment around the hole is just about perfect. So these are done, 2, 3, and 4. And I just picked kind of a random measurement. I did 8 inches and then 20 inches and then 8 inches and 20 inches just to kind of space it out somewhat evenly. But yeah, that's good. All right, so when I put the template on here, I also marked the small screw holes there. You can see this one, you can't see quite as well, but it's there. And that's where the screws are gonna go in for here. So you see how that lines up just right. So I'm gonna go ahead and drive these in by hand. I don't wanna use the drill just in case it moves or twists. You want these to remain perpendicular, I guess, to, for the alignment of the door. There's a little bit of adjustment on these, but you want to get it as straight as you can when you're installing it. All right, so I pulled this hinge apart right here, and then I mounted the first bracket up here. So there is a little adjustability on these. This is kind of a weird angle because I'm right next to the dryer, but there is some adjustability on here up and down, and then when the bracket comes in, there's some adjustability in and out. Okay, so I have the first one connected there, and basically I just did that so that I could get the height marked for the other 3 hinges. And then I also have it spaced off the floor a 1/2 inch. All right, so the way that I transferred this pattern was I took the top hole of the template and I lined it up to the hole or the line that I marked, which is right here. So once I lined that up, then I transferred the center line to this point here. And then I used the template itself, lined it up along this wall, and then on that line, I transferred the center line to here. And then I went off the center line, lined it up, and then I punched my 2 holes. And then that's how I got the 2 holes to screw in the bracket. All right, so I have this panel mounted, and this is going to be a hinge, but it will be fixed normally. So the next step on this, which if you see the hinges there, basically I did this so that when the washer and dryer is installed or uninstalled, you have access to the back. And I have some brackets. They're basically kind of like slide locks. So there's going to be one mounted here. There will be a little plate on the floor, and then it'll slide down into it. And then up here on the top, there will be the same thing so that when the top piece comes out, it'll lock into there. So this will be in a fixed position. But I needed to get this panel in first so that I could figure out the exact size of this door and also the exact size of the top piece. All right, guys, so it has been a few days actually since I was working on this. As you can see, I pulled this panel off and I've painted it. So it's white now. The interior squares of this we're going to match with the house paint, so it's going to be that tannish color. And we even considered this top pane. We may do like that chalkboard paint so that we can use it to write stuff or whatever. I don't know, we'll see. I guess it depends on what the wife is wanting to do. So the next step on this, now that I got this door in and I can get the other measurements done, is we're going to be cutting the top piece. So I'll be putting a brace across the back there, or basically a 2x3. So it'll be the same as here, going across the back, and then we'll be putting this vertical post here. And then my top piece of 3/4 inch plywood will attach to those points, and that'll be basically the roof. And then that'll get trim pieces on it. And then once I have that dimension done, then I'll know the final dimension for my front door, and then I can start making the front door. All right, guys, so this is going to be the top piece. Basically, I ran supports along the wall on the back and then one on the side. So this is going to screw in from the top into those supports along the wall. So the corner is going to actually just kind of be hanging. The door will actually not support the corner, but it'll be sitting on it, and then I'll have a lock that'll be coming from the door into this piece here. So this right now is actually upside down, but this is the corner, I guess, away from the walls. All right, guys, so I have this top piece completed, and basically all it is it's a 3/4 inch sheet of plywood, and then I took some of the same wood pieces that I used for the frame of the doors of the panels, and I ripped that down, and then that basically put a trim piece on the edge. So if you see it from the end here, and then I put in the paintable caulking, you know, along all the seams, and then of course it's painted. So I'm ready to put this on now. If you look up here, you can see my supports in the back and then on the side. And then once I get ready to do the door for the front, there's actually going to be a piece of wood just like this one that goes down here. So it'll be the exact same setup with the 4 hinges. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this put on right now. All right, so I got the piece up here, and basically all I'm going to be doing is running some screws into the back, into the support there, and then on the side over here for that support. And then you can see here where there's a cutout that goes around the window trim. That's about as finished out as it's going to be. I may eventually add in some caulking in here just to kind of fill in that gap. But I wanted to get it, you know, somewhat close. It's a little high, but that's just how the trim piece ended up being. All right, so the top piece is mounted, and then I will go ahead and you know, run a bead of caulking around that whole edge. The next step is going to be putting on these slides. So the way this is going to work is there will be a slide up here, and then there will be another one down at the bottom going into the floor. So the slide will get mounted to the door. It'll go up into, I'll drill a little hole, and then there's these plates that retain it. So that'll basically lock this panel in to the top and then to the floor. So that'll kind of complete the cabinet. So that's one thing about this cabinet build or setup is it's not like a traditional cabinet where it has framework. So it's I guess making it a little bit more difficult, just so that there's access to install and uninstall the washer and dryer. I basically am making 2 doors, so that's what's made this a little bit more tricky, but I think it's going to work out. And then also, you can see my wife did the first coat of paint on the panel, so that's basically the same as the walls. I know it looks a little lighter right now, but there was a coat of white behind it, so it's going to get probably 1 or 2 more coats. All right, so the way these work is really simple. You have your 2 screw holes. This piece will slide back and forth on this rail. So I have to slide it up, put the bottom one in, and then basically it'll just go into, I'm pretty sure I'm going to use this plate. And then that's what's going to lock it in. So behind here I'll have to use a drill to hollow this out, and then that piece will slide up inside there. All right, so I got this first one mounted, and then you see how it slides. So basically now what I need to do is to position it correctly here, and I want there to be a slight overhang so that it matches, you know, what's over here. I'd say about right there. And then basically I'll just push this up, I'll mark that spot, and then I'll drill the hole. All right, so all I did here was I traced the metal plate, and then I just used a utility knife. Since it's plywood, I could just cut it, score it, and then it's layers, so it just pops out. So now I just gotta put the plate on. All right, so this side is done and mounted. The plate is mounted. Let's see if I can get this one-handed. Okay, so it's on. Have a little bit of a lip here, so it kind of matches all the way down, and then it's secured into place. So that side is done, and then the way that this is, since this corner is floating, it does kind of sit on top of this door a little bit, but it's not enough weight that it's really going to do anything to the door. All right, so now I'm going to do the same down at the bottom. All right, so now I have the bottom one installed and the plate is mounted to the floor. You can see it a little bit from this side, but that's okay. And the bottom, I had to make sure to measure from the wall because the cabinet wants to lean in a little bit on the bottom. So I basically took a measurement from here once that was latched in to the wall so that I can get the exact same size down here so that this is as close to square as I can get it. And then the plan eventually is we're going to be building a bench seat here that's going to kind of go along this panel and then underneath the window, and then that'll be for the kitchen table eventually. I know it's a mess right now. All right, to show up top, this piece is completely installed, and then I ran caulking along the whole side. This is just some of the white paint from when I painted the back wall, so this will get touched up. That's done. And then I have my next frame piece made. It's ready to install, which will go right here. And since there's no beam here, I used a product called a toggler. So basically what happens is this piece goes into the wall, you pull it tight, and then you slide this cap down so that it's flush against the wall, and then this front piece snaps off. So I put a screw in there, which matches up with this screw hole, and then that's what will attach this to the wall. And there's 4 of those, all the way from the bottom, 2, 3, 4. That'll be more than enough to hold that door because it's pretty lightweight. All right, so back outside, I have the next pieces cut for the front door. And basically you guys have already seen all this before, so the next time you see this, it's gonna be done and painted. Okay, so this is where we are at right now. I have the door built, and of course it still needs to be painted. So this will open basically like that. Let me back up. So the 2x3 is mounted in here, painted. Those holes will be filled eventually and then painted over. So that 2x3 spaces it off the wall just enough that this door can open completely, and it just sits flush against the entry door. So you still have full access to the washer, dryer. Hey, you can see my reflection. And then down here, this one, because the way that these are stacked, the washer is just slightly further out than the dryer. So this space is a little tighter, but still plenty of room, you know, to get your hand in there to open it up and close it. Just kind of what we're working with. But that's pretty much it. So all I have left is to do some sanding and clean up on this door, and then paint it and then reinstall it. All right, guys. So this project is pretty much done. Still have to put another coat of paint on the inside of these panels. This one is totally painted, and it's white, and it may end up staying that way because now my wife is liking how the white looks. So we'll see. And then we'll probably put some kind of a door handle on here. There you can see all that is done. I filled in all the holes with just caulking, then painted over. So yeah, that is it. Added the trim piece back down here. All right, guys, so that's gonna wrap up this video. I know I was really dragging my feet on this one, procrastinating. I think it was just because I didn't have like the proper tools to do the job correctly. So it turned out okay. It looks good. My wife thinks it looks good, but like any, you know, woodworking person is going to look at that and be like, oh, this is crap. So someday down the road, I may end up rebuilding that cabinet just because it's not put together like proper cabinetry. So anyway, I just want to say thanks for watching. Thanks for following along, and please subscribe and like, and I will see you guys on the next video. Aloha.